Welcome back to Railroads Online, and as I'm not doing any more of the tutorials, I'm still going to be making some videos, and it's just going to be general playthrough of the game. And today we just need to run some trains so that we can make a little bit of money and buy a better than Betsy locomotive. So we'll get a little bit of fire going in here, maybe one more. That should be plenty of fire. Still got a bit of steam left from where we were the other day. And the break off on the rail car. And we have the first 3 industries connected. But we don't have any way to turn around at the freight depot yet. So we're going to have to stop here and reverse all the way back to the freight depot because I don't feel like going on track today. Just want to drive some trains. Brakes on. Flip this switch here back the other way and reverse back to the freight depot. I think perhaps I have the volume up a little bit too loud for the locomotive, so we might turn it down a little bit. Oh, touchy slider. Yeah, that might be better. Right, throw in reverse, brakes off, and that brake off. And we'll give her all the beans. Not that we've got much steam. It'll run out before we actually get any height, but we'll keep rolling all the way there. We'll have it on about 20. Until we get a bit of steam built up. I'm going back to the freight depot because I'm pretty sure we have got enough money. Yep, we can get 2 more log cars on here. I want to get 10 at least for log cars. That way there's 2 basically unloading zones worth of cars on there because the unloading zone holds 5 at a time. Yes, I should try out the new tree planting tool and set them just a little bit closer to the tracks so if we can get more than just one poor little tree there in the middle of that Y. He needs a buddy. How's our steam going? There we go, we're getting a bit of pressure up now, so we'll open it up a bit. 55, 56 will do, that'll get us going along at full speed. And I don't normally like to push the trains around backwards. I find it better to drive forwards all the time. But you get a pretty good view out of Betsy going backwards until you get a load on there and then you can't see anything. Yes, it is quite a way back to here. It's not as far as, say, to the coal mine. That could take hours to get to the coal mine, depending on your route. The freight depot is in a bit of an out-of-the-way place. And normally you don't even need to come back to here unless you're buying new rolling stock or you're basically end of game and you've got oil barrels to sell at the freight depot. Oh, once we've got enough money to be able to afford to buy state cars, shut off the power here, hit the brakes. That should just about stop us. Oh, look at that, spot on, what a guess. Now we need to buy 2 more cars, and we won't worry about any numbers or names on them. If it really matters that much, I can set them later with the Rose editing tool. But we will try to put them in order. Re-roll them over to the re-roll track. I tend to re-rail out of this start area here because very early game, when I was backing in, I actually had the car that was placed here disappear under the map. And ever since that's happened, I have not used this area to actually drive on because it's actually not part of the rail system. It's actually baked into the map. And whether or not that has some kind of a difference on how the rails see the wheels, but yeah, it just seems safer to not drive on it again, so I didn't ever have the problem again, because it can cause the game to crash when you have your rolling stock stuck under the map. Depends where they get stuck on when they fall down. Break off, and connect it up and break off. Deal with the beans. Because we've got a bit of weight on here, we are on realistic physics settings and we're on hard economy, as I always play on. Playing out the window here, all our switches should be set through to just before the sawmill. We'll just fly on back again. Yes, it'll be nice when they get a few more scenery objects and assets added into the game, so we can have gardens and plant bushes and shrubs and fences, and telegraph poles are coming. It will make the view a lot more spectacular as you're going along, instead of just being grass with the occasional broadleaf bush on the ground, these horrible looking things, and trees everywhere. And it's not just trees everywhere, it's tree, because there's one that's hiding under the map about down there where I'm pointing, and all the other trees on the map are actually copies of it. Which is kind of funny, but it's good from a game perspective, because it means there's less load on the game engine when it's only got to load in one tree and then copy it from the rest. But when it comes to having a diversity in your forest, it kind of looks strange to have every single tree exactly the same. Perhaps they could plant 4 down there and have 4 different trees that spawn across the map. I know the modders will hate that because of the tree replant tool. I'll have to completely rework the entire thing. But it'd make it a little bit more interesting. I'll put this brake on, so we slow down enough. There we go, that should be enough. And we'll give it just a little bit of power so it'll pull around this corner, and we'll go flip these switches and it'll catch up to us while we're running. Or it should. Oh, I think I left the brake on. That'll do it. Flip this switch. I did, I left the brake on the locomotive. I did that the last time I drove the train too, because the porter's got enough power to overpower its own brakes. And I had it on full beans and full brake and it kept on going. Now we'll slow it down and we'll run forward and get these other ones, because we've got one more switch to flip to get to the log camp. Yes, and all the people who are waiting for the spline update to come out, my recommendation is to keep on playing. It will be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even 4 or maybe even more weeks away before it changes, and there's a lot of playtime in between now and when it'll finally come out. And then I also expect that it will come to the beta branch first before it goes to the main branch, so that the hardcore players can do all the bug checking on it. Let's give it more beans. Betsy should have no problem at all pulling 12 up this 1.5% when they're empty. But there's no way she'd pull them up there loaded. She's only meant to be a shunting locomotive. Not meant to go do big long trips in her. But as soon as we can earn enough money, we'll get the state cars first. And then try and earn enough money then to get a better locomotive. And once we've got a better locomotive, then we'll start building track towards the smelter and the iron mine. There's not much point having those tracks hooked up when you've only got Betsy. You can only take 1 or 2 rail cars down there at a time behind Betsy. She just doesn't have the guts to pull them back up the hill again. Yes, I'm quite happy with how this bridge turned out. This one turned out really nice. And I've had people ask me how I do this smoothing section there. That is, you start a new spline on the end and you put it at 10% downgrade and just build until it goes all the way into the ground, or until you run out of room to put it in. And I tend to use that everywhere I put in stone wall to make a nice transition between the gravel and the stone wall. And again, that's another thing that'll change when the new splines come out. The new splines have the groundwork as part of the track, but there still will be separate groundwork, but we don't get the option of separate track. That is what is so the information that's come so far from Kuemi as to what will happen with the changes. Yes, because this is a single entry point loop, it doesn't matter which way we go in. We can go in this way or we can go in the other way. So we'll go backwards this time. Probably makes it a little bit harder to see where we're spotting the cars too. Now we can keep the beans on all the way around here. It's all nice open corners, nothing gets tighter than 25 degrees. We will back it off now though and let it start to slow down, otherwise we'll overshoot our spot. Just let it gently roll into the loading zone. We'll check our water again while we're here. just in case we need to give it a top up. All the brakes. And then get ready on this one and stop. How did we do? That's pretty good. This rail here is not touching the stone, so it won't make a difference. And we've only used about 50 litres out of there. Right, well, I'm going to pause the recording while I load, and I'll see you again when it's all loaded. And here we are back again, all loaded. Now, something that makes it a little bit easier for you to, when you're trying to spot the train, especially if you're in first person view like I am, you can actually put a little marker, and hopefully it'll go in right, and click it in there like that, and see it's put a little tiny marker there at the coupling. And we go up to the next coupling that lets us up here. We can put another one here. And drop him in there, about a width of the... And it's hard to get it straight because it's so short. There we go, that's pretty straight. Puts another little marker, and you can see we've got like little markers there. And it makes it a little bit easier for you to see the spot where you need to stop on when you're in first person view. And we'll put another one here. You can't put these in until you've actually got a decent sized train that you can stop, so that you know where to put in the measuring spaces at. It's out a little bit too far. Let's go in a little bit underneath the rail, so it sticks out uniform distance. Another one here. And then we'll put another one here at the back of the locomotive. This one's going to be difficult to place, isn't it? Because it's under the loco. That's close enough for me. So that gives us a spot that we can easily see when we're standing in the locomotive in here and we're looking out the window and we're operating the brake first person. You can see that spot to know where to stop at. Alright, and let's, while we're here, instead of grabbing wood out of the pile, we'll grab 5 off of this stack. Open it up, throw a couple in there and put the rest back in the pile. And while that builds up a little bit of heat, we'll go and flip this switch over so that we're lined out of the loop. We've got steam pressure, we don't have very much water pressure though. We'll turn off all the brakes and give it the beans. And oh, poor Betsy knows she's got a load on. We've got enough momentum now to roll all the way to the bottom. I could shut it down and we'd roll all the way to the sawmill. Because things are nice and level up on top, and then they level out again at the bottom. There's no Z randomisation in the track. There's our pressure going. We're nearly out of pressure, so we'll back it off. Put it on about 15 until the pressure builds up again. And we'll gently roll to the top of the hill. And yeah, pressure's just holding steady. We don't have much heat there in that fire yet. And when we start to pick up a bit of speed, we'll put the brakes on Betsy, and because it's only a gradual downgrade, she won't pick up that much speed. Oh no, pressure's actually still dropping. The fire was worse than I thought it was. Alright, now we're getting a bit of speed up. Let's whack some brake on. About half will do. That'll stop us from going over speed. There we go, now the pressure's starting to come up. I've got 100 psi. Nearly at the bottom of the grade. Grade levels out just after this bridge over the swamp. And yeah, this is the transition right here. And yes, unlike last time, we'll actually turn the brake off this time. Give it all the beans. The last load we did, I actually put the brakes on full and drove all the way to the end with the brakes on. Nobody noticed, it seems, because I didn't have anyone comment to tell me I did it. And I noticed it when I watched through on the replay, wondering how come we didn't get up to speed along flat. Here and start to roll in because these are heavy, and actually we need to put some brakes on because I need to jump out and beat the train to these switches, otherwise we'll be going to the wrong place. We want to put them in the pond because we need to get a build up of logs so that we've got beams, because beams are the best thing to sell because they load so quickly. There's only 3 items to load and they sell for the same price per rail car as the lumber. Give it just a little bit of brake and we'll get up here ready for when they come past. I think we might be moving just a tad too quick. Let's give it a little bit more. And as the load comes off, the train will get lighter and it'll stop. Yes, the little tricks you learn to do when you've been solo playing. Oh no, oh no! I know what I forgot to do. And there we go, it looks like we've got to get Heiss's derail counter out. I forgot to change the switch. I wonder, can we pull out of it? Turn the brake off, give it all the beans. Do we have enough power to pull out of it? Go Betsy, go! And we probably should put that on there. No, it doesn't look like we're going to pull out of it. What about if we disconnect? Oh, we got Betsy back on the line. So that's 2 on the derail counter. And that seems to be the only time I ever have a drama with derailing is on the bloody switches. I kind of wish the switches were kick switches so that when you ran through the backside of them, they'd automatically kick over to the direction you're coming from. I think just a little bit more room. Next position. Not one too far. That'll do it. Brakes on, reverse, a little bit of power. Are you gonna go? There you go. Make sure we've got a pin in this end. Yep, ready to go. No brakes. Yes, that's terrible. Second drive out of the train and I tipped him over on a switch. Alright, let's go and load these last couple. Yes, that was a big oof. Luckily we were only travelling slow and had very little weight left on the train. Look how much money have we got now? Look at that, enough money to buy 2 more of these flat wagons. So we'll let it on roll on through. So we get to the switch and we're going to have to back up to the freight depot again. The sawmill's nearly eaten all the logs we've given it. I think it'll take 4 or 5, maybe 6 loads to get that pond full. But by the time it's full, we'll have plenty of money to have bought 12 of the stake cars. Hey, stop. That's enough. Slam Betsy in reverse. Give her the beams to get her rolling, and then just let her coast. Because we need to go down and very quickly change the switch before we get there. And that is something that is rumoured to be coming with the new spline updates, is the procedural switches we will get are either kick or spring switches. I'm not sure yet. And because they're automatically generated, you can drive over the backside of them when they're not lined for your direction. And it'll also mean that we can make shorter switches of any angle, and instead of having a little flat piece on the end of the switch, we can have a full neat curve around the turnout. And you can also have a Y-shaped switch or even a three-way. You can join three splines in together. And that's quite an exciting change that's coming. Another change that's coming is for crossovers, we'll no longer have the crossover track piece, the actual object, but where you cross two tracks over, it will procedurally generate a cross track at any degrees you need, which means you can now do a parallel track and have a Y in it. And so if you want the turnout tracks off to the left, you can have the right lane cross over the left lane to get to the left turnout without needing to put a lane changer before you get to the switch. There's still a lot of variables of things that we don't know what will happen. But rest assured, when it comes out and I've worked out how to get the best possible out of the track, I will make another tutorial series on how to build really good tracks with the new system. Yes, it's quite a bit heavier than it was before. And we'll buy us 2 more flat cars. Here's our money now, $140. And that's all the flat cars we need. Re-rail them over to the re-rail line. This last one go on and drop him, pin them. We'll give Betsy's water a quick check. Only about 100 litres gone. And I want that on about 4 or 5. It's enough post to keep it rolling. Pin him, break off. Are we going to go? Ah, there we go. Now we're moving. Pin him and break off. Back to the front of the train. And the brake on there, brake on there. Oh, how do we get that? Wrong lever. Right, brake off and let's head back to the log camp. This time with some more rail cars. We've actually got ourselves a train. As if you watched Heiss's leak video, the choo-choo sounds match the drivers in the new update, and that will be so nice. Having the when you've got a good load on there and it's got to build up the speed, that will sound so good. Heiss is doing a brilliant job with the background music and also with the sounds for the game. Still hot. Throw in some more. Keep that steam pressure up. Yes, you don't need to throw big bundles of wood in, Betsy, to keep it hot. And that's something I hope they work on soon too, is the water usage, because the water usage is very, very slow. It used to be extreme. You used to go through water so quick you had to have water towers everywhere. And then they went back to the other extreme where now we hardly use any. And it was the same with the fire. You'd have to add, say on a trip to the coal mine, you'd have to add a full firebox of wood every, 5 or so times along the route. And now it's fire at once and you get all the way there. Which, yeah, that's gone from one extreme to the other, and hopefully the numbers will get somewhere in the middle. Quick enough to run past. Let's go grab the switch. And if we're good, we can beat her. We've got a second switch too, so we don't want to be going too fast. Just let it roll. Run up and get the second switch. This one here needs to be lined through for us. Jump in, back on the beans. This passing lane, or I'm going to use it for a siding, and I'm pretty sure I have got it long enough. It is. It will fit my 10 log cars in there. Well, we need somewhere to put the log cars when we change over to the state cars. Otherwise I'd have to build some kind of a storage yard for rail cars there at the sawmill, which eventually we'll need one anyway. And get some locomotive houses, engine houses built up there. Because Betsy will end up getting put away in one when we get that better locomotive. Well, I'm partial to the modal, so it will be a cook for the first locomotive. There we go, there's 10 and it's just starting to feel the weight climbing up this 1.5. We're just down off the top speed. So if we went too many more rail cars, poor Betsy would start to struggle getting up here. Transition there, and Betsy's on the flat. Still a couple of cars to come over the transition. Having good smooth rail, you can fly everywhere. Full speed and just go. Back it off there. Judging by how much we had to brake earlier, we might brake a little bit earlier than normal. We've got quite a bit of weight there on now with the extra rail cars on the back, and Betsy's brakes are, yeah, they leave a lot to be desired. Let it off and roll up. Nearly there, put them back on again. So up here and... oh, I think we're going to overshoot with the extra weight we have. See, now that's an overshoot. That would cause a problem when we tried to load. We would end up putting logs on the wrong rail car. So we're going to have to back it on up. Until at least that point there. And well, that's where I'm going to call today's episode. And when we come back to the next episode, we'll be all loaded and ready to head back to the pond. Alright, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next episode.